Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Ladiez Room Talk Show. I'm Clarissa Kenty, your Kingdom Concierge. Happy Monday, everybody. Hope you had a great weekend on this weekend. I had a great weekend. Did a little bit, chilled out a little bit, watched a little Netflix a little bit, which is something I really get to do. So it was really nice. I had a great weekend, and I certainly hope you did the same. Listen, it's a lot going on out here. So make sure that you are sanitizing those hands and practicing best sanitation as possible, because it is a lot. Stay safe, guys. Stay the course. Keep that immune system built up. Peggy Keebler, the body artist with PK Fitness LLC, is doing a lemon challenge, a hot lemon challenge hot lemon water challenge. That's what it is. And so it's really good. Those are one of the things that help build your immune system. So that's one of many ways that you can really be proactive and vigilant about your health. So we certainly hope that everyone remains safe there and do their best to make sure that you're washing those hands and staying as clean as possible, okay? I want to give a big shout out to our guest on last week, Miss Marjorie Candy Love Pittman. Marjorie came in on last week, and we were talking about a conference that she has coming up for women. So if you want to know a little bit more about that, go over to her Facebook page, hit like, follow her, so you can find out more information about what's going to take place at that conference and the speakers that will be on that program. I have a couple of friends that's going to be at that conference, so I think it's really going to be a nice conference for women. I believe it is open for men as well. It's just a refreshing and a time to renew. And I think we all can look forward to doing something along those lines going into the new year. So big shout out to Marjorie. Again, Marjorie, thank you, sweetheart, so much for coming into the Ladiez Room. And we certainly welcome you to come back at any time to share more information about what's taking place in your neck of the woods. Also, I want to welcome back to the Ladiez Room. This is not his first time. He came last year, maybe year before last, maybe. Time flies when you're having fun. But he came in and was talking a little bit about SCLC. And so we have brought him back in today because January is significant for SCLC, and he is the communications officer. So Terry Collins, welcome back to the Ladiez Room.
Thank you.
Yeah, see, you have a virtual key at this point. You can use it anytime you want to.
Okay.
Yeah, you just come right on in.
Sounds great.
That's right. And you can spend a significant amount of time and still be okay. You still have that bass in your voice when you come out.
Okay.
That's right. You'll be okay. I'm still the same crazy person you talked to a year ago.
We're good.
Okay. Listen, let's talk a little bit about SCLC, because some people, they're probably saying, what is SCLC? You know, what is that? I've never heard that before. What's the acronym? So let's talk a little bit more about what that is and why this organization is so significant.
Okay. That's the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. And it was organized by Dr. Martin Luther King and some of his associates in Atlanta. The SCLC didn't really concentrate on memberships as such. We have affiliates, and they either have been in churches or communities. And in Metro Birmingham, we have the Metro Birmingham chapter of the SCLC. Our president is Dr. Reginald Patterson, and our vice president is Pastor Muriel Todd. Mm-hmm. So we have local people, and it's a local organization. And we have several events coming up. But first of all, I just want to talk a little bit about a couple of things that have been accomplished in the past by the SCLC. The SCLC actually came into Birmingham in 1963 and organized the Children's March. It wasn't intended to start that way, but the adults were unable to participate because they thought they'd lose their jobs and things like that. And so after quite a bit of time mulling over it, Dr. King agreed that the children could be used. And so 5,000 children went in the streets in Birmingham. And in Birmingham, Alabama, 4,000 were arrested and placed in jail. They were housed either in the jail or at the fairground. And some of them were in there for as long as 9 days. So it was quite an experience. There were dogs and fire hoses and billy clubs March lasted about 8 days. It gained nationwide visibility because it was actually filmed by people from all over the world. And it just so happened that the President of the United States, John Kennedy, was watching it on television.
Wow.
And was appalled about how the local authorities were treating the children. And he made Vice President Johnson agree that he would make sure that legislation would be passed for voting rights and for the Civil Rights Act. And in 1964 and 65, those things were accomplished. And it were primarily accomplished because of what the children did. It shut down Birmingham, because Birmingham had already gotten a reputation as being the most prejudiced city in the South. So that set the stage, and now we are facing other kind of things. We have a administration that is challenging democracy, and many of the gains that were accomplished in the 60s, they've tried to erase those things. And so now we're having to rebrand ourselves, no longer for the 50s and 60s, but for the current day. And so the SCLC is there and available to assist. And so we need community support. We need people to get involved. And the SCLC, we're going to have a few events coming up. In fact, on January the 17th, we're going to have the MLK breakfast. And that's going to be at New Bethlehem Baptist Church in Bessemer. And then on the 18th, we're going to have a gospel concert at First Baptist Osipko. And then on Monday, we're going to have the MLK March. And we have quite a few people who have agreed to participate in the march. And we look forward to the people to come downtown and see the march celebrating the life of Dr. Martin Luther King.
Wow, that is so powerful. You know, when I think about, Dr. King, and we'll be celebrating his birthday here pretty soon. We talked off air about his original birthday and then the day that's designated to celebrate.
Right.
So I believe the 15th is his day of birth.
Right.
But we celebrate his birthday on the 19th.
That's the official national holiday.
So how do we come up with that?
Well, legislation was entered into the Congress, and enough support over time was amassed, and it got passed.
So why not his original day of birth?
I don't know what the logic was in setting it another day,
right?
But we just celebrate it, and that's what's important.
Right. I just find it to be interesting. That kind of reminds me of when you think of Christmas, the day was chosen. But it's not exactly the exact date of the day of birth.
Well, for one thing, it's easier to celebrate it on a Monday. And so probably the Monday closest to his date of birth.
Okay, that sounds, because that could be any Monday. It could be the 19th, it could be the 20th, it could be any day. So yeah, that sounds good. I like that. So when we talk about SCLC, definitely was founded January 10th of 1957. So that's a significant portion here in the month of January, because this is Founders Month of SCLC. So Dr. King, was it about 60 plus men and women that came together to put SCLC in place?
Well, actually, initially, when Dr. King came here, we already had the Alabama Christian Movement in place. But Reverend Shuttlesworth requested Dr. King to come because he had such great success in Montgomery with the bus boycott.
Right.
And he had the expertise, he had the national recognition, and so he asked him to come to Birmingham and to assist us in making the changes that we needed, because we were dealing quite a few atrocities, not being able to ride the bus, not being able to try clothes on you when in the store, having to, and all the ways that the police department was treating the people in the communities. It was like living in concentration camps.
Right.
It was noted as the most prejudiced city in the South. And we had over 50 bombings to take place in the 1950s and 60s. And so a lot of homes, a lot of churches, and the AG Gas and Motel was bombed.
So when you think about the purpose of SCLC, was it someone sitting and say, listen, we need our churches to be involved. We need our clergy to be involved here. What was the purpose of pulling? You have your NAACP, and these may be questions that people could ask, but with that, why SCLC?
Well, the NAACP was banned from Alabama by the governor because they refused to turn over their membership list. And so with them being banned, even though some of their members did participate in the activities with the SCLC, the NAACP was not allowed to operate in Alabama.
So back in 1957, because of that, that's when SCLC came along.
Yeah, because as I say, the NAACP was barred, and so that organization could not operate. So the SCLC was created, and it came, even though it was founded in Atlanta, they came and worked here in Birmingham after having left Montgomery.
So it's comprised of Southern Christian leaders.
Yes.
Okay. And so do you think it was a method to the madness there? Let us get with the clergy and see if we can kind of run it that way as opposed to going through your standard NAACP.
Well, again, the NAACP couldn't be here.
Right.
So there was no use talking about them for a while. And so the SCLC worked with the Alabama Christian Movement, and they worked jointly together to bring about change.
Gotcha. Now, I was just trying to see what was the purpose in it. Was it by being able to go to the community for our Christian leaders and ministers?
Working through the churches.
Covered more? Yeah. Okay.
Working through the churches.
Right.
And so the churches were very helped financially, and a church can do a lot more than an individual. And when you band together the churches, you have a wonderful force. And trying to work it in a nonviolent fashion.
Right.
That's another reason that they use the churches, because of the method that he was using to try to bring about change.
Okay. Do you see that happening today?
Well,
was that a loaded question? Or
today we still have many of the same problems, but not quite to the same degree, because you don't have the overt acts of discrimination being so obvious. But at the time, the fact that you couldn't sit on a certain place on the bus,
right,
and you couldn't get food unless you went to the back door. If you went to a store to try on clothing, you couldn't try them on because you couldn't bring them back. And so whatever you bought, you were stuck with it. But that was just disrespect, because that wasn't happening to white customers.
Right.
You couldn't eat at in the cafeteria that they had, the little shops where they had hot dogs and hamburgers and all that. You couldn't even purchase things, and if you did, you couldn't sit down. So the marches changed all that, because we went to the places where the food was served and sat at the counters. And we basically shut all that down, because they could hardly move without us being there. And put 5,000 people over 8 days in downtown Birmingham, it cannot operate.
Wow. I love how you are able to literally see unity in that movement during
Absolutely.
that time. I don't know if we become complacent and thinking that, we don't need more change. I don't know, but I don't see as much unity as I've read about in the past.
Well, I think what has happened, because of the progress that was made during the marches, when you were able to remove all of the visual signs of segregation, then people began to think that everything's okay. But we have seen, particularly over the last year, how we are being openly affronted and told that we're not being appreciated. And I mean, with them holding back the funds that have been approved for the HBCUs, closing down the Department of Education, a great funding source. Right. All those things that we normally look to. So a lot of young people who plan to go to college are affected by that change. So they're having to struggle to come up with funds to try to go to school. And many of the schools that had funds, they were told that they were going to receive funds for various projects, and those things were stopped. They decided to not to fund them. So we're at a point of crisis when it comes to certain things, like people not being able to get food. We're no longer helping our allies across the world. So a lot of things that we've just basically, we're no longer leaders in the free world. We're just supposedly taking care of ourselves, and that's not the way the United States has worked in the past.
You know, I have a question from the live that I want to bring to you. This is from Mark Cooper. He's in New York. And Mark says, given the current political environment, what advice can you give all of us of diverse races who support your efforts to stand together, unified and organized?
Well, the key to all of it is voting. Now, we got tricked in the last election because there was an act that went on that looked like somebody tried to assassinate somebody, but that clearly was done for the reason to gain people to vote, to gain the votes. It wasn't a real attempt, and we have to be careful in the kind of information that we're being given, and basically they made us vote against ourselves, because the things that have happened, we would not have wanted to happen either in this country or even in the world, but the United States has changed face. They said it's America first, and that's not what we have done. That's not the position we've taken. Democracy has been encouraged across the world, and we were the example of democracy. And now we're concerned about whether or not democracy is going to maintain our system.
So what are some of the things that we can do as a minority? And I don't speak just for or about Black people, but I mean the minority as a whole. What are some of the things that can be done that we can sustain economy in our communities? Some things that we can do to eradicate the food deserts. You mentioned something about food issues in the community. You can go by any community that's considered as being underserved, and you will not see a grocery store, a drugstore, fresh fruits and vegetables in that area. You have to drive 20 to 30 minutes to go to get your groceries. What are some of the things that we can do as a community?
Well, one thing that we can do is recognize that if we're not at the table when decisions are made, things are not going to go our way. So we need to insist that we get to participate. We need to become actively involved in our neighborhoods and in our churches and in our local government. We need to become aware of issues and the positions that we should take on those issues by becoming educated about what the issue really is. Sometimes politicians will tell you, well, this is what we were doing, but that's not really what they're really doing. So we need to become educated about real issues. We need to become literate about our resources and how we spend them and to spend money with each other. We need to have our own businesses. We need to support those businesses that support us. We need to join our forces and addressing issues in that fashion. We need to have open dialogue together with issues of common interest. Mm-hmm. And until we become unified and recognize the importance of voting and voting for things that are in our favor. Mm-hmm. So we must become more intelligent when it comes to voting. Instead of just taking somebody's word that you should vote this way or that way, right. You need to research it yourself. And so we need to depend on agencies that we have confidence in to advise us. And once we do that, that will help to unify us. Mm-hmm. We need to communicate with each other. We need to identify the issues that are our interest and support those issues and encourage other people to do the same.
I've noticed that just by being associated with some friends who are state politicians, and they've shared with me, so Clarissa, we need to hear from the community. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people feel like, well, I'm just one voice. But you're one voice that can talk to another voice, that can talk to another voice, and numbers have power. Absolutely. You talked about diversity, you talked about unification. Mm-hmm. And so when we're talking about issues that the underserved community, having more grocery stores in our community, that means we get on that phone and we call our local politicians. We get on the emails and we blast that out. We have hundreds of people calling, emailing, so that we can make the noise that needs to be made. This is going to help our politicians, our state representatives, our senators that are out there. The more noise we make, the more you get the attention that we need. They say the squeaky wheel gets the most attention. And I believe that is very, very true. I like the fact that not only should we be more educated about things that are taking place, but we need to depend on our local organizations and our state organizations to inform us, to let us know, hey, we need to know what's going on. We need to know what's affecting us and what can we do to help. So some people feel that, well, it's just my voice. It's not going to make a difference. Yes, it is. It will make a difference.
Well, what we have done is to hold forums and invite people to come. Mm-hmm. And if you come to that open forum and listen and offer your opinion and ask questions, you become more knowledgeable of what the stands are, why one person recommends did you go this way or that. But if you don't participate, you will not know. You have to take an active interest in your community and with your legislators and your local politicians. Mm-hmm. Make them accountable and go to meetings when there are town hall meetings. Go to that meeting and hear what's being said and get answers that are in your favor.
So, question for you. So then I can't remember if I asked you this before, but there are so many people who feel like you don't mix politics and religion. Okay. So your thoughts on that? I think that's a broad statement, but what are your thoughts? I'm sure you've heard it.
Well, let me say the first schools in this country were churches. Mm. And where else would you be educated other than in a place like that? And many churches act as meeting places. So you get a chance to learn and to hear from your politicians. And a lot of communities may not have community centers to meet in. So they may have to actually hold the event in a church, and which is a good meeting place, but just make sure that you're getting answers to the questions that are being asked. And if you're going to open up your buildings, make sure you open it up to both sides, so you get to hear both sides of the issue. Mm-hmm. And so it has to be coordinated, and that's the purpose of the SCLC, to do some of that coordination.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I love that. And so I think when you hear, or I think some pastors have been like, well, we don't mix politics and religion together. And I think they use that as being something to say, we're not trying to sway anyone, so we don't have anyone to come. To me, that's not I don't believe is what they're saying. I believe, and as you mentioned earlier, I think our churches can do a much better job in educating our community on the issues at hand. Not necessarily swaying people to vote for whomever, that's personal, I believe, in my opinion, but to educate and to partner up with people like SCLC. Bring you guys into the churches. If you can't do it as a church, bring somebody in that can. But I believe that we, as a Christian organization or our churches at large, I believe we need to get more involved. Now, there are some churches who are. I'm not saying all churches are like that, but I do believe we need to get more involved about educating our people of what is taking place. Because whether you're in the building of a church or not, what's taking place in local government or our state or our nation affects us all, whether we're sitting in the pews or not.
And of course, we have public buildings, libraries, other meeting places, community centers that can be utilized. So it doesn't have to be a church,
right?
But church people need to be there, because whatever happens in your community affects you and it affects your family. And so you need to find out what are the issues. If there's an issue in the community, identify those issues and take them to the politicians to be resolved.
And I will say, just by having friends who are politicians, they do lend an ear to hear. They just need us to make the noise. And I say that loosely, but they need us to lodge a complaint. They need us to go in and say, listen, this is what we're seeing and we don't like it. I believe that I learned that when my kids were in school, Terry, they used to say something about stakeholders. And so I learned very quickly that parents were stakeholders. And so a lot of parents didn't realize the power that we have as parents to make a change in the school system.
Absolutely.
Because we are the parents. If you don't have our kids in school, it's it's not likely that you will get the funding that you need in order to carry on as a school system. So they need our kids there. And so, and I think just people not reading, because we don't read sometimes, us not reading to understand that as a stakeholder, you have a lot of authority and you can really shake up some things. There again, we as local citizens, politicians aren't put in place without us, and they can't stay in there without us.
That's right. Your vote. So that's the emphasis for the day. Those who thought that they could win $1 million and they were willing to give up their vote for that, well, now you got it.
Right.
You see what you bought for that chance to win $1 million. And now you, whether or not democracy is sustained depends on the people.
Right.
And so some of the marches that have taken place, the No Kings Vote March, for example, that was significant, and it really made an impression. So getting involved in PTAs and other organizations that affect your children's lives is important. Know what's going on, get involved in it, and show your kids that you're interested in them enough to come to a meeting to talk about what's happening at school. Absolutely.
I believe that parents or our Christian community being asleep allowed them to take prayer out of the schools. I just don't believe. Now, I was younger then, so I didn't have a dog in the fight there. I was a kid myself, but I still can't figure out how that happened and how was it allowed to happen.
Well, I can't answer that particular question except to say that whatever we want in place, we have to let the politicians know, and we have to stick to it. We can't just drop it.
Right.
So if there's an issue, if there's something happening at the school and you don't know what is going on, you need to get involved and investigate. If there's something happening in the community, if there's an element in the community that's causing problems, you need to complain about it and report. If you see something, say something. Because your involvement in the community is what's going to make it better.
You have to know what make a difference. Some of the generations have, for some reason, think that what they do, it doesn't matter. It won't make a difference, but it really does. And numbers are so important. I mean, the more you have together, the stronger you are as a force to be reckoned with. And so, even when thinking about when you said something about PTA, there again, PTAs, those meetings people think are not significant, but they are.
They help to set the school's policy,
Hmm.
and the school policy can affect your child.
Oh, very much so. A lot. Also, with making sure, as we said before, if you are not familiar with SCLC, you need to be. If you're not familiar with the NAACP, you need to be. If you're not familiar with the Black Caucus, you need to be. If you're not familiar with the Black Chamber of Commerce, you need to be. These are organizations that I believe that can educate you, can inform you of what's taking place, because a lot of things are not. There's a big thing. I don't know if it's still on the table or not, of pulling Black history out of the schools, and not even putting them in the books. But you can't have history unless you have Black history involved in it.
Well, for many years, Alabama didn't have anything in the history books about us.
Mm.
And so you have to get involved and make it known what you want to happen. The legislators need your input.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that input will come from organizations like ours
Mm-hmm.
to call the politicians in before them to express the concerns of the people.
Absolutely. You have people, I believe, Terry, who are called to march. Then you have people who are called to put their input. I think everyone has a
role to play.
And a role to play. Exactly. And we need to do that. It's called having the courage of your convictions. What is the courage that you have, and what is your conviction? And what are you going to do about it? It is the biggest thing. And so just sitting down, not doing anything, sitting down and not voting. We have people who don't vote, but then they'll complain about what's taking place today. But you have no right.
But not voting is just like voting for somebody.
It is. And that's what people don't realize.
Well, you have to vote your convictions. You have to get involved. And people died, so you would have the right to vote.
Yeah. And you got to think about, if someone lost their life for the right to vote, that means something. And so a lot of people feel like their vote doesn't count, but people lost their lives for the right to do so.
That's right. And, the right to vote means that you have a responsibility to know what your vote is, the change that your vote is going to cause. Mm-hmm. Research whether or not you support an issue, why you should or should not, and then vote your convictions.
Right.
But voting is what you must do. Vote, vote, vote. You must vote.
Mm-hmm. It's not an option, y'all. And plan early. If you're going to be out of town, do absentee voting. If you feel like you can't get to that polls when you need to, vote. And this is another thing. I mean, we can talk about this, Terry, and then we'll wrap it up. But, some people think that I don't vote for the small elections. I don't vote for the small elections.
If it's worth voting for,
yes,
it's worth you finding out what it's all about.
Exactly. But to me, there's no big or small.
Well, because some money is going to change hands, and it's going to be something you've invested in, and you need to know how your money is being spent.
Absolutely. And we need to make sure that we are, whoever you're voting for, but you need to make sure that we are putting people in place
who are going to be looking out for your betterment.
Exactly. And that's not always in the presidential elections.
Local elections are important as well.
Yes.
Because a hole in your street can cause an accident. It can cause a busted tire, or a child could be injured because a car ran into
mm-hmm.
a bad spot in the road mm-hmm. and was veered over to a little child. So safety and cleanliness and the environment, all those things can affect you and your life. So voting is imperative.
It's imperative, y'all. I don't care what it is for. If it's for city council, if it's for state representative, senator, governor, president, it doesn't matter. Judges, all of these roles play a part, and they represent people like you and me.
And one vote could make the difference.
Yes, absolutely. But that's what people don't see. They call it their one little vote.
Every vote is the same size.
Yeah, I like that. Well, that should be a t-shirt, Terry. Yeah. Every vote is the same size. I like that. That you came up with something. I love it. I love it. Terry, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope I asked good questions for our listening audience. They are all kind of chiming in and listening. And so I believe we need to have more dialogue like this, more town hall meetings.
Absolutely.
So that we can really do a deep dive into what is taking place and what can we do as citizens, be it local citizens, wherever you're from, whatever state or city you're in. We need to understand the power that we have as citizens and then what we need to do to utilize that power.
And just think, one vote can make a difference as to whether you get a savior or a tyrant.
We probably could drop the mic on that. That's the truth, y'all. Pay attention. This is not the time to sleep or slumber.
Stay woke.
Yeah, stay woke. I see, we laugh about that because we say it's old, but hey, you better stay woke. You better stay woke. I'm telling you. It's I will say this and then I'll close. That's my second closing, Pastor. But but we have a tendency to be so caught up in what's before you, the loud stuff. But all of these things will take place, but there's always something working in the background.
And sometimes politicians do things to take your mind off what they're doing.
Yeah, that's obviously it's happened within the last year.
A lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. So we got to be real mindful. If it's loud and it's taking place, don't be easily distracted by what you see. Because there's always something working on.
And your eyes are not lying to you.
Right. They are not. They are not. Terry, thank you for hanging out today.
Absolutely.
Now, what we normally do, I don't know if you remember or not, I love for my guest to leave our audience with some form of inspiration. And I know you have a lot of it. So your camera is right in front of you. And so if you could give our audience some type of sense of hope, something that can motivate them to move, to listen to the courage of their convictions.
Remember, you are the help that we've been waiting for. It's in your hands.
Pressure. I love it. I love it. It's a call to action. It is a call to action, and we must do something. We must do something. And you have the power, you have the wherewithal to do it. My father used to say, if you want to keep something from a certain class of people, put it in the book, because most folks don't read. So we need to start reading, because when it's time for us to vote and all these articles are put on our ballots, a lot of times we don't understand the verbiage. That's intentional. So we want to make sure we are getting the education that we need, and we need to do something about it. So guys, listen, this was a wealth of information here tonight. I want you to share this live, because we need to get this information out. Knowledge is power. And if you don't have the knowledge that you need, you're ignorant. And it's very hard to move in an ignorant state. So Terry, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Got to have you back in again. And then again, guys, listen, as always, we could not be who we are without you and without your support. So thank you for always popping in and hanging out with us inside the Ladies Room Talk Show. We have some people who come back on the replay, and you go and you check that out too. And if you are listening to the replay, share this live immediately so that we can share more information about what's taking place in our nation, what's taking place in our community, and what we need to do to make a difference. So happy early Martin Luther King's birthday. I don't think I'll be going live on that day, but guys, find something to do to honor him. Terry mentioned several things that will be taking place in our local city.
Look at the parade.
And what time does the parade start?
Starts at 12 o'clock. It will convene at right behind City Hall, downtown Birmingham, and we'll go down. We'll travel toward Metropolitan Church on the corner of 4th Avenue and 16th Street. There will be a short service after the parade, but we look forward to you being there.
All right. You heard it, guys. Get to that parade on Monday, 12 noon, and it's going to start at the Birmingham City Hall.
Yes.
And then move its way on down to Metropolitan
AME Church.
AME Church. I love it, guys. Listen, we'll see you there Monday. Have a great, wonderful, and safe week, and we'll see you soon. Good night.
Step into the ladies' room with Clarissa.